Hey everybody, welcome back to Studio HFL. I'm Larry Powell, your host for this podcast. I'm glad you're back for another interview. If you'd like to receive news regarding interviews, new guests, access to Studio HFL merchandise, please subscribe to the newsletter by going to www.powellmusic.net and click on the subscribe to newsletter link. And of course, Powell Music, POWELLMUSIC.net. And now, on with the interview. Vincent Martino, I'd like to welcome you to the Studio HFL podcast this morning.
Great to be here. Always with you, Larry.
Well, thanks very much. And anytime I get to sit and chat with you is always a learning experience. Even if you don't pick up the trumpet, it's always terrific. So I want to start. Of course, hopefully listeners are going to know already quite a bit about you, and if they don't, they're going to learn quite a bit about you today. I'd like to start with where you are right now, what you're doing, what people call you for, because I know you don't have a full-time teaching position at the moment.
That's right.
But tell us what's going on right now.
Well, I taught for 40 years, full-time at two universities, University of Kentucky and Centre College. Loved every minute of it. But I wanted to spend a little bit more time doing research, basically, thinking about, right now I'm involved in a lot of old instrument performance and restoration and other things, and touring with John Foster a lot with Sound the Trumpets, and getting ready to go to Australia in about a month.
Is that to put that program together?
Some of it will be that. Mm-hmm. Some of it will be that. But some of it is also, it's called the Australasian Trumpet Academy. And we go out into the outback, a few hours away from Brisbane, and we do trumpet, and Gabriele Cassoni and other guests are going to be there, as well as usually about 25 to 30 students. And we don't do anything but trumpet with a small group, and everything from Baroque trumpet to contemporary trumpet.
Wow.
And we talk about techniques as well as the musical part of it. And then we go on tour with the Sound the Trumpets, and I'll be touring with two brass quintets this year. And
which two?
The Quintasonic Brass, which is a new group made up of some people from both Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mississippi. And also the Millennium Brass is still going. This will be our 18th year. And we'll be doing a few concerts with that group in Texas. And I'm looking forward to both of those tours as well as doing what I normally do, which is go out maybe 1 or 2 weekends a month and play with different colleges, mostly university groups and community groups and professional orchestras, playing solos and stuff, and practicing a lot.
Even now, after all these years, where you a lot of people would think, "Geez, Vinny, you've mastered everything."
Right.
But it's what I found even in interviews I've already done is we're never done.
No, you're never done. That's the great part. That is really the great part about a profession, any kind of artistic profession, or any kind of profession. Whatever you do, you're never done. You're always a lifetime learner. If you're a plumber, you find new ways to do the same thing and say, "I wish I would have known that 20 years ago." I wish I would have known this. And in aircraft design, I wish we would have known this. And in trumpet design, boy, if we had done that, that would have really sped up the process of making this instrument that much better. And playing wise, same thing. And so I've been doing a lot of, kind of research, I guess you'd call it, practicing every day, finding new ways to warm up, and especially in the golden age of trumpet, when you've been playing more than 50 years, you start to, want to figure out even easier ways to play.
Sure. That
you go, boy, I wish I would have known this when I was 25. And it's so true, and technique-wise, where I'm finding out, your technique isn't really that even as you thought it was. And, things like that come up, and you're challenged every day. And you feel good because, just like anything, you don't find the cure for cancer, every day.
Right.
But you're on the search. And you're always finding out little things that are bringing you closer to, hopefully, fruition. But they're always engaging you in a way that enables you to think more clearly and come up with different results.
you say, gosh, I wish I'd known that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But, if you think about that journey through that 20 years, there's some experiences that you'd probably say, boy, I was really glad that I did have that experience.
Oh, yeah.
Because all of that can be valuable, I think, in your teaching.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a student come along who might not be at that stage, who's ready for, certain revelations at certain times.
I think as a musician and a teacher, if you shy away from things because you don't think you're either good enough or you don't think you feel comfortable in that situation or whatever, you might be losing a great opportunity for yourself. I know people, I saw Phil Smith. We were on a stage with Doc Severinsen and the Army Blues Jazz Band at the NTC, I don't know how many years ago. And Doc says, yeah, we're going to play Amazing Grace. And we're going to do it as a New Orleans style piece. And Phil, you need to take a couple of chords. Phil's going, oh, I don't think so. I don't think. And I said, Phil, what do you got to lose, man? You're one of the greatest trumpet players in the world. All you have to do is stand up there and you're going to sound great. He goes, I don't know. And Phil got right out there and did it. And I was I'm going, wow, this guy's really, he's a learner.
Wow.
What a great person. Not afraid, fearless. And he would come off and he said, that was a lot of fun. And, that was, it was a revelation for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of thing you want to do. You have to be Phil Smith to get out there with Doc and stuff and do that. But at the same time, it was a challenge for him to do that. And I had tremendous respect for anybody who will do anything. That includes just going up and playing the hymns in church as a young person. So, don't get in the habit of turning things down if you have any bit of curiosity about them at all. Yeah, get out there and do it. That's the only reason that I can do. I guess I was naive enough to think I could do some of those things even when I couldn't. And I think that's a really good place to be. And of course, get with people that can do the things that you're thinking about doing. They'll give you good insights into it. So there's a lot less chance of failure.
Sure.
And you'll get a better experience and you'll maybe decide that's the area I really want to be involved in. A lot of people who are classical musicians in the past have been taking jazz lessons and, getting with some friends, making jazz. Look at one of the earliest people that did that was Tom Stevens. Tom Stevens did a whole little jazz record, and it's darn good. And and he basically started the contemporary music generation, so to speak, with his record, The Contemporary Trumpet. And he certainly got me interested in it. I heard that recording of all these pieces I didn't know at all. I'm going, oh my gosh, isn't this fantastic? I ought to get interested in that a little bit. Because of course he's such a great musician.
Well, yeah.
You can hear that music, you go, well, gosh, if I could be that musical on any, I'm going to learn to do that. And I still play some of those pieces. Not not the really hard ones, but I play the ones sure. That I'm still capable of playing. Right. And I think that's part of this process. If I'd have known that, well, if I'd have taken the time to learn that, if I had taken time enough to spend some time with it, I probably would have learned a little more. And of course, we all are usually not as comprehensive in our starting as some people are who are lucky to have exposure to that type of teacher.
Well, let's head that direction for just a second. Let's travel back a few years and to when you first picked up the trumpet or decided that trumpet was going to be your means of expression, even if you didn't think about it that way at that time. How'd you get into it? Who influenced you?
My high school band director, my music program in my public school, and I was in the choir first, and I think everybody should spend some time singing. It's really it helps you to develop a sense of pitch, which is needed to play any instrument.
Well, and it's our natural instrument.
Yeah, it's the natural instrument, and you learn how to put sounds together in a way that are expressive and emotional, and I think that's important. And I sang. One of my worst days of my life was when I became an alto. I was a boy soprano.
No kidding.
And all of a sudden one day it was like, Mom, I can't sing those notes anymore. She started laughing, and it was great. But I became an alto, and I sang a few more years in the choir, and then by then I'd already started trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, really great in the elementary school.
Mm-hmm. Early influences on trumpet, both people that you knew
Mm-hmm.
around you physically, and then by recording or live
My high school band
performance.
director,
Oh,
he was
yeah.
a fine trumpet player, and he really was influential. Even though I only took few private lessons, he was there for me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well have been taking private lessons every day because he was there always showing me things that I couldn't do. And that was his way of teaching me because he knew that I was one of these people that, if you threw a baseball, and I wanted to learn to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So he figured that out, and he always would, when I thought I was sounding pretty good, he'd turn a few more pages in the Arbin book and say, "Here, let's hear you play this." And I'd sound, of course, horrible. And he'd go, "Boy, that doesn't sound very good." And then he would just leave.
Wow.
And he understood that I was going to sit there and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I came back to the trumpet, that was the first thing I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I had kind of a crazy way of learning, but he was very helpful.
Thinking about that, of course, we all have different learning styles. You've got the people who need to have it modeled for them. You've got people who need to have the whole anatomy, physiology thing explained.
Yeah.
That particular mode of teaching where he left the room and left you to your own motivation. Have you adapted that in your own teaching through the years? Do you recall students where
I think
they had that same response?
Well, I think the people that studied with me and other people, there's so many wonderful teachers, play a lot. A lot of people do play a lot in their lessons. And one of the things is that a lot of younger students, even though today we have YouTube and lots of assistants, some of them don't take as much advantage of it as they should. I know I do. I go on, listen
All
to
the
things,
time.
I just want to hear what a piece sounds like, or I want to hear how a certain person plays this piece, and maybe learn more about the compositional style of It's good to listen to recordings of great playing, and I think my band director provided that for me, and also I listened a lot to music. There's no substitute for it. Also, another thing was one of my neighbors was a bass player. He was actually an aeronautics engineer, and he worked at Grum Aerospace. But he played bass. Yeah, rocket science, basically. And I'm surprised in our little neighborhood that had these little tiny houses, that were post-World War II bungalows, He worked for them, and he was but he was a really fine bass player. And my dad asked him, some recordings that he might get for me because I was starting trumpet. And he got me a Maynard Ferguson record, a Rafael Mendez record, a Billy Butterfield record. Most people don't know him. He actually went to Transylvania University in Kentucky, which I'd never known until I got here. And then also a Miles Davis record and a Stan Kenton record, because I guess eventually there were 5.
Wow, that's really diverse.
Yeah. And so I put those on every day and just keep turning them over and listen to those 5 records. And of course, I tried to sound like that because I said, wow, that sounds awful good. I want to sound like that. So I had models. And of course, I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't play all that stuff. I said, gosh, I can't even play half the notes that this guy's playing.
Well, I remember you telling me not too long ago that you didn't know about double tonguing. And so listening to Raphael, that's how you learned to develop a really fast single tongue.
Yeah, I sing, and then my band director, of course, showed me double tonguing, and I said, oh, yeah. And then I realized, years later, because I'm not the brightest light on the block, I realized that double tonguing was single tonguing, twice as fast. So the T is always in exactly the same place. Right? So the T is always in fractional value of where the T is exactly the same. And so it really makes it's easier to teach double tonguing now for me, and single tonguing and everything. And so I think if you're on the case every day, all this stuff starts to, the inverted pyramid where you start to gain more and more information in an objective way. if you become too subjective and too narrow,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times movement is a little slower. I think when you hear something that's intriguing, it's good to kind of wonder what that is.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how they do that.
Lean in a little bit.
Yeah, just no matter how bad it sounds, try to come up with something
Mm-hmm.
that'll work. And eventually, as most people agree to, if something sounds good, it's probably pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So off of those albums,
Yeah.
I mean, of course,
Yeah.
they were trumpet players
Yeah.
on those albums,
Mm-hmm.
but were there other things that caught your ear while you're listening to that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The context. I think context is really the most important part of music anyway. Unless you're playing solo trumpet,
Mm-hmm.
Which we don't do very often. We don't play alone without a pianist or without an orchestra band or jazz band or, So, I think what I learned the most was context. Just listening to groups and seeing how the trumpet fit in with them, what kind of sounds it made with that particular group,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next particular group, etc. Listening to recordings, rock and roll recordings,
Mm-hmm.
hearing background horns play. I did that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Playing in a band. I played in my high school band,
Mm-hmm.
of course, and I sang in the choir, and in high school a bit, because my choir teacher said I was in theory class, and she says, I could use some tenors for my choir. Would you like to sing in the choir? I said, nah. She says, do you want to pass theory? I said, oh, I'd love to sing in your choir. And so I went back to singing in choirs after I hadn't been doing it in junior high school. I did it in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I got to be a junior, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
I got back in choir because she needed singers. And she was great.
Mm-hmm.
Her theory class made the Eastman theory class look like easy.
Wow.
We had 4-part dictation every day in high school. And she'd say, okay, Vince, and to the class,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play this 3 times. And I said, wait a minute. I said, there's 4 parts. She goes, you'll have to listen very carefully, won't you? Here we go. She started playing the piano. I mean, that was it. All of us, there was 4 of us, all of whom became either teachers or professional musicians. One of them's in Broadway still. He contracts all the woodwinds in a lot of shows
Mm-hmm.
and plays. He can play with Woody Herman. And then myself, mostly teaching and performing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy who eventually became the high school band director was in that same class. And the other fellow's dad was a Cadillac dealer, but he was a great musician, and he played the accordion, believe it or not. And he was just remarkable, and tuba and accordion. And he was a great musician. I've lost track of him, but
Mm-hmm.
and
How
many
about that?
every year, out of our high school, Glenn Drews, who's one of the top trumpet players in New York City, he went to my high school. Dennis Wilson, who led the Count Basie Orchestra for a while, teaches at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
He went to my high school, and quite a few others. So there was, a history working with our band director,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just lucky to have a band director. And also the assistant band director was Barry Titone. He taught in the elementary schools and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother was the manager for Lionel Hampton's band. So that's how I got hooked up originally with Lionel Hampton.
What's
He came
the
out
great
to our
connections
school.
early on?
Yeah. But
So did your band director, you're ready to go to college now.
yeah.
Had you ideas of where you'd like to go? I mean, Eastman's not too
Yeah.
far away, but
I didn't know about
you?
Eastman until my guidance counselor. Believe it or not, my guidance counselor
Mm-hmm.
gave me great guidance. She was from Rochester, New York, Mrs. Burles. And one day she said, you're a really great trumpet player. And, she heard me in concerts in the school and everything,
Mm-hmm.
And she says, there's a really great music school up in Rochester. And I think you should go visit that. And I never heard of Eastman School of Music, And so I applied to Michigan. And
Who
I
was
got
teaching there at the time?
at Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
Cliff Lilly, I believe. And of course I got rejected from Michigan. I did.
Wow.
And because they said they weren't taking as many out-of-state residents. But I don't think I really played that well, And and I applied for Eastman too, and Fredonia, and a bunch of other upstate New York schools, that were affordable.
Who was teaching at Eastman at the time?
Sid Meir,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just great for me. And so it was funny because my school was a wonderful school, wonderful high school, and I didn't really have any money, And so they said, well, if you want to, audition for Eastman, we'll fly you up to Rochester. So my high school paid for me to fly.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, yeah. That was only the second time I'd ever been in a plane too. So I flew up to Eastman, and as soon as I sat in the main hall and talked to a few people and roamed around the practice rooms, I said, I think this is a place for me. If I go here, I'm going to be one of the least experienced trumpet players at this school. And that's what I need.
See, that could be an intimidating thing. Somebody could show up there and think, there's no way I'm going to succeed here. But you're looking at this as an opportunity to grow and
change.
Learn and change.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I met Ross Beecraft, who's actually the director of admissions now at DePaul University, where Gabriel actually got his undergraduate degree.
Mm-hmm.
Studied with John Hagstrom.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Charlie Decker, who taught at Tennessee Tech in Cookeville for many, many years. And I think I learned as much from Charlie as I learned from everybody at Eastman altogether. He was a couple of years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And he just retired from Tennessee Tech a couple of years back. And as soon as I met those two, I was going, wow, these are the kind of people I want to hang out with.
Mm.
They know so much and I know so little.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I didn't really know any solos. I didn't know any literature of any type, any orchestra literature. I knew nothing. I just could play the trumpet a little bit. And somehow I got accepted there. And I took out loans and went to school, and it was worth it. I mean,
what was your improv like at that stage?
Oh, it was, I practiced a lot, so I sort of made up solos. I never played the same solos, but I did improvise. And I played gigs since I was 14. So I guess I was okay, because I started by ear. I couldn't read music at all. I couldn't understand why there were 3 beats in a beat in 6/8 time in a march. I just could never get that until I got through almost to the end of junior high school.
Mm.
But, then I started to really, I started to work in junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I went to Eastman, I just had so many things to learn, and I just hung out with all these people.
Mm-hmm.
I had people like Phil Collins were there, Marvin Perry, Chappie Perry from Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Paul Rathke, who eventually came and got his doctorate with me at UK,
Mm-hmm.
who was a close friend. And, all kinds of other trumpet players. Jeff Tyzik, Al Vizzuti, eventually.
Mm-hmm. Chuck Mangione was there too.
Chuck was he was the jazz band director for a while. Mm-hmm. So there were all these people. Plus, there were wonderful people in Rochester. Joe Pera, who has a thing called the Trumpet Shop up in Webster, New York. He was worked for Xerox. He was a lot like Peter Pickett.
Mm.
He worked for the a company that built computers and printers and things.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that he was on the original Xerox design team, but
wow,
he was just a trumpet player to me.
Thinking to your lessons there, any particular methods or styles, books that Sidney
Meir
was pushing your way?
Well, Mr. Meir was very tolerant of me because basically, I was a really excited young trumpet player like all of us, and I had no methodology, no teaching techniques really, other than what my band director showed me, which was still a fair amount. But and he would just humor me for about half a lesson, let me try to play pieces I couldn't play and do things I couldn't do, and then he'd take out the Schlossberg book and the Saxa book and all the books that I still use, and he'd say, "Well, let's try a little bit of this." And he'd show me, "Start over here," and of course he'd show me things I couldn't do, just like my high school band director did. And I said, well, that's not going to do. So I'd go practice. And I still go to the library. And recordings became like, with my 4 or 5 records that I had, became an important part of what I did, besides my live listening and my concert playing with little jazz groups and, country club groups and everything else. I could play rock bands, Dixieland bands. I'd go to the Eastman Library. I started at A, and Maurice Andre was one of the first ones.
Thank goodness, right?
And I went from A to Z in their card catalog. One of those things, you used to
I
flip
remember
through.
those.
Yeah. And I listened to recordings of every person. And I'd say, oh, man, that's a great piece. Of course, I really shouldn't even been trying to play some of those pieces. But I'd bring them into my lesson and say, Mr. Muir, look what I found in the library. I heard so-and-so played. He goes, oh, well, he'd be kind of laughing. And he'd listen to me play a movement of it or two. And he was great because he showed me what those pieces should sound like. So I think he realized how lacking I was in the background. So he let me play a page or two of each of these solos. I never really, except for my juries, I never really covered all of them. And he would show me, this is, the French pieces sound like this. And do you remember when you heard so-and-so play it? I go, oh, yeah. So then I had an idea of what a French piece sounded like. And as I went on through the years, I think my favorite lessons, though, were when I went back to get my master's. After I've been teaching at UK without a master's for like 4 or 5 years.
Again, unheard of in a major university.
Unheard of anymore, and I agreed to go back to get my master's. I said, yeah, well, I should do that. Well, I went back, and after teaching for 4 or 5 years, man, that was the best thing I could have done. Because when I went back, man, I was even full of more enthusiasm to learn more literature. And actually, I was shown to play a piece for Mr. Muir. I'd bring, same routine, I'd bring in a piece, and I'd say, Mr. Muir. And he'd go, well, I don't know that piece. And I go, oh, really? I said, so I was so excited to have something that maybe he didn't know. And that happens to us all. I mean, I run across when I go to NTC and any kind of thing anymore. I say, I don't know that piece. And I might know 2/3 of the pieces, but I don't know all of them. You can't possibly learn them all today. But, I'm still learning a fair amount of pieces. And I think that's really a good thing for young teachers, too. A lot of students only know 8 movements of 8 pieces for their juries, and have heard some of their friends play others, and a few etude books, and that's it. And that's just not enough. It's not enough breadth. And so the listening aspect, whether it's on YouTube, traditional listening, just of sound recordings, going to concerts and hearing people and feeling what it's like to do that live.
This past May at the ITG conference in San Antonio, Phil Smith was part of one of the groups that came out to play, and I was sitting right in front of his bell. Now, I hate to admit this, but it's the first time I'd ever heard him live. And he was playing third trumpet. It was the trumpet trio. Him, David Hickman, and a guy from the Boston Brass.
Jose?
Yes.
Sabaha.
And it didn't matter that he wasn't playing, Mahler or pictures or anything. But I thought, all those recordings that I had ever heard of him, Unanswered Question was the first recording.
Oh, boy.
And just, that gorgeous
Piece,
sound.
too.
And it struck me, first of all, okay, this is why he's Phil Smith, and revered player that he is. But that live experience, even with him playing third trumpet,
here,
just completely changed.
It's in your head
things
forever
for me now.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that,
And for me, I've been fortunate, now that I'm 70, to have played with a lot of these people and to gain that type of experience on a regular basis. I mean, when I go to a conference, I'm usually playing something like that, or with somebody else, or I go to as many programs as I can. I hate rehearsals because I miss people playing. I'm going, oh man, can we do this rehearsal some other time? I said, Ronnie Rom's doing a thing with his wife. I really want to be there, and et cetera, et cetera. And but it's it's kind of a joke almost because you can't possibly see half the stuff that's going on. But I think the live performance experience. I mean, I can remember looking up at the town band. Actually, it was the I believe the Pennsylvania. It was a famous town band in Pennsylvania, either the Reading Band or one of those bands in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, where my relative lived. Looking up at the cornet trio and saying, "Boy, I want to do that someday." Yeah, and hearing people play live. My very first concert, I was 12. Okay, it was at the Long Island Arena, Coliseum, I think it was called, where the Ducks, I think they're called the Long Island Ducks or the hockey team.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
And the concert was Dave Brubeck, Maynard Ferguson, and Louis Armstrong.
On the same bill.
Yeah. And I met both Maynard Ferguson and Louis Armstrong that night. I stood outside their dressing rooms until somebody allowed me to meet them. And I still remember that like it was yesterday. And I remember what it sounded like. I remember what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, that's... I talked to people today and they said, "You met Louis Armstrong?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know, that was in 1960." And I used to drive out to the Jones Beach Marine Theater, which was out on the water on South Shore, Long Island. It was on this little strip island, and they had a theater there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would drive there at night sometimes. It was about a 20-minute drive, just in time to catch him do his vignette in Hello, Dolly, live.
Mm.
It was only a year or two before he died.
Mm-hmm.
They would drive him there in a limousine from Brooklyn, Corona, I think it was, and he'd get out, go in, and all of a sudden, within 10 minutes, you heard, "Hello, Dolly," and you heard him play a little bit. As soon as it was done, he's back in the limo and back to. He only spent about an hour on the road,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I could still hear it because I came over. I couldn't go in. I didn't have the money to go in every night. So I would just sit out there, and the speakers were so loud, you know, because it was an outdoor theater. I could hear Louis Armstrong every night live.
Wow.
So it was great. Not every night, but, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, I think that live experience is, I go to Interlochen in the summer, and I hear the students that I teach play, and some of them are awful remarkable, you know, in so many ways. And also the guest artists and the faculty.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to play with them. John Ailey. You know, Rex Richardson's been there as a guest. Ryan Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Rahm. You know, just over. There's so many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this summer at the UK Trumpet Institute, we had Marie Speziale, and I hadn't seen her since we played together with a symphony, really.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, at the Women's Brass Conference, I saw her once. And you know, being there,
Yeah.
being able to play as an extra with the Cincinnati Orchestra, as a soloist and an extra. Over 20 years worth of it.
Oh, you were on some fantastic recordings.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to play a lot of cool records. Mm-hmm. And Phil Collins was there, and Steve Pride, and Marie,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and all the others, you know, Charlie Duvall.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in the orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, I mean, I got to sit next to these people and get an idea of what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and what was different than what I'd ever done in a lot of cases, you know.
So, you know, private lessons are absolutely valuable.
Yeah.
But those experiences were lessons in
Oh, yeah.
themselves,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Well, private lessons are great, but you're not going to take private lessons for your whole life. You have to develop some sort of other way of learning that is not directed.
Well, I usually think of them, I'm teaching my student how to teach themselves.
And you know, I talk to people all the time about how to play better. I mean, you know, I'm always with somebody else. Man, you know, I heard you do this soft. What do you do when you do this soft thing? You know, so I'm always getting a little checkup, little tune-up
Mm-hmm.
from people.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I can't imagine taking lessons for 50 years or something. You know, and I mean that's kind of a way of life almost then.
Mm-hmm.
And my way of life is just, you know, just to perform and
Mm-hmm.
interact and be an asset to your community
Mm-hmm.
in some way, besides just playing the trumpet. You know, the trumpet is part of our life.
I want to talk just a little bit
Sure.
about your time teaching at UK
Mm-hmm.
and Center College,
Mm-hmm.
and you can group those together
Mm-hmm.
if you want. But you taught at the undergrad and graduate level,
At UK.
and some terrific students that have come through those studios.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Your evolution of teaching from that first time you sat down with a student at UK to when you retired from Center College. How do you see your teaching evolve through that?
Well, just like most beginning teachers, I knew nothing. Because until I taught some students, you know, that were in high school when I was at Eastman and, you know, stuff like that on Saturdays to make money so I could eat during the week. And but mainly when you get to you know, a place where you're responsible for the person's lessons, like at college level, boy, you get in there and you go, gosh, I hope I'm teaching them the right stuff. I mean, I've really never taken a formal plan of, teaching, and some people have, and I guess they felt a lot more comfortable than I did. But I just said, well, I practiced all the time myself, and I just tried to incorporate what I had learned from sitting down and failing, trial and error. I tried to eliminate the error part as much as I could, even though you can't, and then you get them be more catalytic for the learning experience. It's like you can talk to somebody about a certain thing, but if they've never experienced what a house looks like, you can say, make sure you put windows in it, and they're not going to know what you're talking about.
There's no context.
There's no, yeah. So basically, all of those things we talked about, the listening, all those things have to be. So you can only be as successful as your engaged self and student, which are one interchangeable. And I'm still a really good student, I think. And I mean, like every day, that's what I'm doing. Gosh, I'm on the search, and yet I'm not so subjective that I'm freaked out by what I'm doing. That's the thing. That's the thing a teacher helps with. I think a good teacher, and I found that out right away. First of all, I found out I knew nothing about what a student could do. I'd say, well, I don't know, this student, they don't seem like to be into this, or they don't seem, and all of a sudden, 3 months later, they sound great because they've been practicing, and I just didn't. I just thought I could figure it out without them putting in the effort or something. I don't know. That's what happens when you're 23 when you start.
Right.
You know nothing. So basically, I realized, first of all, that I needed to teach everybody at the highest level I could to do the things they needed, especially music ed students. I know that sounds funny.
No, I agree completely.
Because they're the ones that train the future musicians and people who are going to be excited about music in the future. I don't have as much contact anymore with people who are going to be doctors and dentists and other professions. So teachers are the ones that teach in public schools and in universities as well at this point. So basically my job is to just get them excited about what they're doing, not what I want them to do necessarily, but them doing things that are good for themselves, and teaching them a process that is transferable to anything they're going to do in their life. This intense learning experience, whether it's how to work with your kids, how to trim the hedges better so you don't have to take 2 hours instead of 1 hour, cutting the lawn, building a model car, carving a piece of wood. Any of those things take a great amount of dedication, trial and error, and hopefully a great deal of satisfaction in the long run. So I think a lot of the students that I was lucky enough to work with stuck with it and are doing well. And they're teaching me. I mean, I call up students all the time and say, hey, Mark. Mark Wood is he's the one of the lead trumpet players in the Army Blues. I've been working on this range thing still. He goes, oh man, you don't need to work. I said, yes, I do. I said, I heard you doing these lip slurs. They sound like you're not even moving, just like old Maynard Ferguson. I said, we need to talk about this a little bit. Okay, if you want to, but I said, yeah, that's a really good idea. I'm going to start working on that. And lo and behold, I've gotten a lot better at doing that. I can't do it as long anymore,
but you can do it.
But I can do it way better than I used to. And that's a tremendous thing for any human being, to feel a great sense of satisfaction from the trip. I still have, issues with lots of stuff, but nobody can do everything. And so, and I keep in touch with all these people that are on the same path. Look at Whiff Rudd and Rex Richardson and John Hagstrom. And I mean, I could just keep naming people, all different.
How about even your own students? How about, and I'm going to speak to the class because I was fortunate
to
be one of
we
your
had a good
students
time
at UK.
Yeah.
Al Hood was
Al
there.
Hood.
Brad Good,
Yeah.
Rob Parton.
Yeah.
Were the three that I see. Well, I've not seen Brad in many many years, but
Yeah.
but Rob and Al. In
Yeah.
fact, I had Rob come to the conference, my conference, and do a session
Well, Rob
this
is
last
just-
year.
yeah.
And they just keep moving forward and creating new things. And
Yeah.
if I look at it now, I think, boy, if they aren't just like you're speaking about this ever growing, ever engaging approach to music. I mean, that's what I see from them.
I just watched a Josh Landris little video that he made. New York fabricator and repair person and restoration person for instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put on there how great it was. He had transformed over this Shaw disc valve instrument into something that looked like it just came out of the factory. Took it all apart, fixed every little thing, and when I got it back, it looked like it had just been made. And it still looks that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it plays like a new instrument. And when people hear it, they go, "That's 160 years old?" I'm going, "Yep." I said, and it's just fantastic work. Because the people are constantly moving forward, and they apprentice. And I think that's part of our job, is to be, a mentor for people who are looking to follow a similar path, or to get information about forging a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really exciting function as a teacher. So I don't really think I did anything super extraordinary except be sensitive to the people I was working with, and trying to, at the ripe age of 18, try to get them to feel comfortable with change, which is not easy. That's the most challenging part of any teacher's job, is to make a student feel comfortable with change and growth, because we tend to be very reactionary and stay close to what we already know, because we feel safe in that.
Sure.
And comfortable sometimes, or frustrated, or both. And so as a teacher, that's always my first job now, is to make people feel relaxed and comfortable, give them good information, the best information I can give them, and encourage them to come back as soon as possible.
See, to me, you just completed that evolution. You spoke to this. You're very humble about this, about your inadequacy that you felt as a beginning teacher.
Yeah.
To the statement that you just made shows, I think. But of course, I studied with you in the mid '80s. I would say that you were.
When I still knew nothing.
No, but you were still. You talk about that sensitivity of the student, and I felt that. Maybe not then, but in hindsight, absolutely. I mean, it's just. So I think this is why people revere you as not just a player, but a teacher. And it might be difficult to hear sometimes,
Yeah,
but
it is.
it's true. And
Well, you just, I think the joy in teaching for me, it's going to come forever, long after I'm gone, because when you finish playing, you're finished. It's over. The recordings live on, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when you finish teaching, it goes on for generations, and is improved more than you ever thought.
Well, and not to
by
be a
people
Debbie
like
Downer,
Rob
but
Parton.
sometimes the same is true for bad teachers, and unfortunately those styles are perpetuated as well. But
Yeah, I don't know many bad teachers. I just, sometimes it's hard for them to express what they're doing. It has nothing to do with their passion for teaching. More has to do with it might be challenging for them to tune into what somebody's doing because of other reasons than just the technical part of playing the trumpet. So, that's okay. And it's okay. I've had students transfer. I mean, it's not 100%
out of your program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can't say it's a lot, but yeah. And and I usually call and say, "Hey, look, there's this really good person coming. This person, I think they're going to do well with you." I might even suggest people sometimes to study with. Yeah, because your whole job as a teacher is to help someone be successful, not to have them be part of your herd. or something. You know what I mean? It's and even though we have groups of people that we really feel good about because there's a lot of compatibility there. You know, there's lots of great studios like the Bill Adams studio. I mean, how can you? That's fantastic. There's a lot of good teaching going on there. There's a lot of strength in how those people feel about one another.
Oh, they are passionate about that.
Yeah, and look at the students. They're excited to learn.
Fabulous players.
And fabulous players.
Yeah.
And a success ratio that equals anything that's ever happened. So you have to love that. You don't have to think everything that's perfect. Everything I teach is not perfect. It's hopefully instructional and helping you to move on. And Bill Adam, when I met him, I mean, I felt that. You know, I did a master class with him, and I thought, I don't know, I hope I can do this. I don't think I teach the same way he does. And I was going, yeah, well, yeah, I wish I could said that way. You know, I use a lot of his lead pipe technique now, a different way, but it's helpful. If you turn off any source of information, that's just not a good idea. You can always put it aside and maybe you never use it, but you don't really realize it, but you probably will. Because when that person comes in the door, you're going to draw from that resource library that's up there. And I'm lucky to have been around a lot of these people. Now, somebody like Bill Adam, I only met him maybe half dozen times, but it's really great. You know, and the people that study with him they don't all sound the same. That's a misnomer. You know, there's a tremendous difference in every teacher's students. Techniques wise and how you teach them might be similar.
Well, not all of Chickawett's students sound identical.
No, or anybody.
We could go forever. I mean, I could sit here and just soak this up, and
And I love doing this. I mean, this is what I love doing. You know, I love to talk and teach trumpet, and study. You know, I mean, the study part of it is the little book that I wrote. You know, that little Life with Trumpet book. It's going to be published soon, actually.
Nice.
And I think I'm gonna start a scholarship fund with it, and I'm going to try to get other people to make some MP3s and put them on there and sell them for 99 cents and put that in a scholarship fund. And the only money that would be used other than the scholarship would be to make the website work because I don't know how to do that. And but I think that's where it's at. I mean, we're trying to get better. You've got to retain all the information, as much of it as you can. I mean, Gabriel, my son, he's teaching at East Carolina University now, and he has notebooks and notebooks full of notes from master classes that he's been to. Not mine. He takes them at mine. I don't know about that, but he takes notes on all the master classes he's ever been at. He has piles of them, and he looks back on Dad, I was looking back on this, and I'm going, boy, Gabriel, you're a lot more well put together than your dad. And he cares so much about his students. He's always seeking. I think I'm really excited about that. I mean, if there's anything that I'm excited about, it's about what he and his colleagues of his era are doing. They have, like I say, they have this access to information, speed of movement, all kinds of things that we never had back in the day.
Well, one of the things that you say that, one of the things I like is this, nobody's afraid to create a new ensemble, an eclectic and instrumental collection, bassoon and trumpet. I don't know if that exists, and maybe
I played a piece for bassoon and trumpet.
But
besides him,
but maybe bassoon and trumpet playing Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah,
and it's just, we don't have to stick to what was.
Yeah,
which is still fantastic.
Look at Phil Snedeker's the Washington Symphonic Brass.
Right.
They do everything from that rock tunes to Renaissance, and they're very successful and a wonderful group. And Phil, of course, is teaching at Hart now in Connecticut, and I know he's doing a great job. Look at all his books and stuff he's done. Just keep, for me, I'm sort of keeping touch with what's going on, but I'm feeling more and more overwhelmed all the time by the sheer amount of stuff. I'm still hearing some of the latest pieces and things, but it's like I said, it's just challenging to keep up.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm one of my things now I'm doing is I'm starting to I don't want to say champion, but I'm starting to bring pieces to light that maybe are going out of literature and still need to stay in there. I just had we just did a band arrangement of I can't find it now. It's Goyen's Fantasy Dramatique. Did an arrangement for band. It's a moderately difficult piece for trumpet and band, and so that people have some things that they can play, because we don't get to play with an orchestra that much,
Right.
and some pieces for trumpet and piano, and finding things. Yeah, I've been going on the backs of old music. Yeah, I have tons of old music. I go on the back and I look at the pieces, but
Oh, right. You used to publish the catalogs.
on the back of you'd see all the pieces. I'm going, well, out of these 20 pieces, I know 2. So you have 18 pieces to find, Vince, and see if they're any good. If you can find half of them, you're doing great. You can look at those, and if half of those are any good, and I keep them. I've got files and files of PDFs that I've made from PD Music that I'm sort of trying to get people to play. I send them to people and encourage them. I make recordings of them. I'm going to start making recordings. Again, Gabriel and I are doing a piece. It's called "Like Father, Like Son." This spring, we're Alvazuti wrote it for us, and we're going to record that. And we're going to record "Wounded Warrior" by Bob Boguslaw, which was written for me a couple of years ago, and I played it with Doug Burian, who's the chief executive officer now of the Marine Band. He just was promoted. He was a student at UK as well as Center College, and Rex played it with me at his school, and Gabriel and I are going to do it, and we're going to do actually a father-son record.
That's cool.
And we're getting these 2 trumpet pieces together because it has a dual purpose to actually promote some of the works. Somebody hears those works, they go, "Wow, I didn't know that piece. I'm going to call Vince and see if I can get a copy of that. I'll call Gabriel, see what he's got." That's a cool thing about having a son, that once again, planning for the future. I'm actually excited about his future, and not being here, and probably at least no less than. Hopefully, no less than
a number on it.
Yeah, don't put a number on it. Yeah, kiss of death, but so to speak. But preparing, Gabriel is going to, have all this, and he's very interested in historic instruments, and he's very interested in teaching, and very interested in performing at the highest level. So, it's really exciting for me.
You have a terrific legacy there.
Well, I get to prepare.
Even if it was just Gabriel.
Yeah.
What a great legacy.
Well, he's his own person. I can honestly say that I've never taught him a lesson except that you don't put the mouthpiece in your mouth. You put it on your lips. That was the only lesson I ever taught him. And when he asks a question occasionally, I'll respond. But he studied with all my students like Al Hood and, Doug Burian and John Altman and Mark Wood and scores of others. I couldn't even. I'm missing people.
Sure.
But he would always, just Paul Klontz helped him. There's just so many people, that have taken the time to spend time with Gabriel. John Hagstrom, of course, was his primary teacher, and Rich Stotzel at Interlochen. So he studied with some really great people, and I get to hear what he's doing.
Vince, we could go on forever, and maybe we'll have to make another appointment.
Oh,
to
yeah.
Come back and just pick up.
Force me into it.
And go into, make this an every
about
once
literature.
A year.
We can do a literature thing.
We could do anything.
Yeah.
But I just want to say how grateful I am to have had the opportunity to study with you, and to continue this friendship over all these many years.
Well, it's great to come and see what you're doing at University of Indianapolis. music program's growing there at an unbelievable rate, and you have more trumpet students than I would have believed that you have there. And it's great to see that, and the other programs, and I'm looking forward to November. And when we come there and do Sound of Trumpets with John Foster from Australia, we hope everybody in the general vicinity there will come on over and check it out. And I know we're going to have a good time.
Great. So thanks again.
Thank you, Larry.
Until next time.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you again for listening to today's interview. I hope you enjoyed your time here, and please come back for more interviews. Be sure to share the news of this podcast with friends and colleagues, and give me a rating on whatever platform you get your podcasts from. And one more reminder that you can sign up to receive news via email regarding new episodes, merchandise, and more by going to palmusic.net and clicking on the subscribe to newsletter link. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you come back for more great interviews.